Hello everyone. In this video I shall be talking about one of the very important topics which is often ignored, that is punctuation marks in English. So let us have a look at the basic structure of this video. I shall be starting with meaning of punctuation in English. I shall then be talking about importance of punctuation marks in English, and finally I shall be talking about types of punctuation marks. As I've already mentioned, there are in all 14 punctuation marks and I shall be discussing them one at a time. So let us start with the basic meaning of punctuation. Punctuation refers to the tools used in writing to separate sentences, phrases and clauses so that their intended meaning is clear. Again, the important things about which we should be clear. The important word in this definition, it is tools. So which are those tools? There are 14 tools in all. And what are these tools used for? These tools are used to separate, I'm trying to highlight it, to separate, and what do we separate by these tools? Sentences, phrases and clauses, so that their intended meaning is clear. If we do not use these if we do not use these tools to separate sentences, phrases and clauses, then what might happen? This is the important thing. We might actually run through the entire text in the absence of these tools or punctuation marks, and our tone will be a monotone. There won't be any rise and fall when we speak in our tone. It is called a monotone, and when we speak at a monotone, or when we read out stuff in a monotone, the overall experience becomes very monotonous. So I repeat again, through these tools or punctuation marks, we come to know where to take a pause, how long that pause should be, so that we should not run through the entire text when we read it. And next important thing is that these punctuation marks help us avoid a monotone when we read out loud the written word. So let us now shift on to the next thing, that is a quotation by Russell Barker. Now I've added this quotation because it aptly expresses the importance of punctuation marks. So let us go through it. When speaking aloud, you punctuate constantly with body language. Your listener hears commas, dashes, question marks, exclamation points, quotation marks as you shout, whisper, pause, wave your arms, roll your eyes, wrinkle your brow. In writing, punctuation plays the role of body language. It helps readers hear the way you want to be heard. So punctuation marks very aptly have been compared with body language. When we speak, we express our views, we explain our intended meaning to the other person through words, no doubt, but at the same time we use our body to express certain messages, certain meanings. The same thing is done in the written word by punctuation marks. So let us move forward. Importance of punctuation, I will be discussing it. Punctuation separates sentences quite clearly. It is with punctuation marks that we come to know that one thought unit or one sentence is over. Next up, punctuation shows us when to pause. Now this becomes important. It is with punctuation marks, as I said earlier on, that we come to know where we have to take a pause and how long that pause should be. Next up, punctuation shows us where to place emphasis. Through various punctuation marks, we can put emphasis on different words or phrases. So punctuation becomes extremely important. Punctuation clarifies the meaning of the sentence. It is with the help of punctuation marks that the meaning of the sentence becomes clear and we can differentiate between one sentence and the other sentence. In the absence of punctuation marks, at times it becomes very tough to decipher where one sentence ends and the other begins. So let us now start with the first punctuation mark, that is a period. The period is placed at the end of declarative sentences statements thought to be complete, and after many abbreviations. So let's have examples, and with examples it will be more clear. So a period or a full stop can be used as a sentence ender. At the end of the sentence we can use, or we use a full stop. So the example, Jane and Jack went to the market. Without going into the definitions of phrases and clauses and sentences at this moment, simply put, a period will be placed at the end of a sentence, which means that it will indicate that one complete thought unit is over. So as is the case here, Jane and Jack went to the market. One complete thought unit is over, so we have put a full stop or a period. A period can also be used after an abbreviation. So here's the example. Her son, John Jones Jr., was born on December 6, 2008. Now we have used two abbreviations here, JR for Junior and DEC for December. And pay attention please, after both these abbreviations we have used a full stop. So what is the implication of it? The implication of it is that a full stop can occur within a sentence also. It's not necessary that it will always be there at the end of the sentence. The second implication is that a full stop and a comma can both coexist. So if you pay attention here, after junior, full stop and a comma both are there. So within a sentence, a full stop can be there, and a full stop along with the comma can coexist, provided we are using this full stop after an abbreviation. Next up, question mark. A question mark is used to indicate a direct question when placed at the end of a sentence. At the end of one complete thought unit, the question mark tells us that it is an interrogative sentence. A question has been asked. Here's the example. When did Jane leave for the market? So at the end of the word, when the sentence ends, we put a question mark. Next up, it is exclamation mark. Now this might be interesting for some of you. It is used when a person wants to express a sudden outcry or add emphasis. Now some of you might be familiar with the first part, that when we want to show sudden emotion, happiness, sadness, etc., we use exclamation mark. But this exclamation mark can also be used to add emphasis. So here are the examples. So within a dialogue, if we have to use exclamation mark to show sudden happiness, surprise, etc. So the example is, holy cow, screamed Jane. Clearly Jane was very astonished or surprised, so mark of exclamation. Now to emphasize a point, we can use mark of exclamation. Here's the example. My mother-in-law's rants make me furious. So to emphasize that the person involved here becomes furious at his or her mother-in-law's rants, we put mark of exclamation at the end of the sentence to emphasize the point that the person is actually really very furious. Next up, comma. Now this is something which is very important, because there can be a lot of instances in which we use a comma in a wrong way. So let's discuss it very quickly. The comma is used to show a separation of ideas within the structure of the sentence. Kindly compare it with a full stop. Full stop was used to show that one complete thought unit is over. A comma is used to show separation between ideas within a sentence. Additionally, it is used in numbers, dates, and letter writing after the salutation and closing. So apart from showing separation of ideas within a sentence, a comma can be used when within a sentence we are talking about numbers, dates, and in particular in letter writing, it is used after salutation and closing. But the important thing, of course, it is not directly related to the topic. In letter writing, a comma can be used in salutation and closing, but the important thing to be kept in mind is that when we write that letter, we should be consistent. If we have not used a comma in the inside name and address, we can leave a comma after salutation also. We shall be discussing it in much more detail when we shift on to the topic of business letter writing. So here let us concentrate only on a comma. So here are the examples. In case of direct address, we use a comma. Thanks for all your help, John. So we take a pause before a direct address. We take a pause before calling out John. Why? Because we want to thank him and we want to draw his attention to the fact that we or I or anyone else who's using this sentence is thanking John. So had this comma not been there, the person would have run through the sentence and it would have read something like this: thanks for all your help, John. Now poor John might not even notice that he has been thanked. So in case of direct address, before the word, before the name of the person, we use a comma. So it reads something like this: thanks for all your help, John. Next up, separation of two complete sentences. We went to the movies and then we went out to lunch. Two ideas have been represented here within the single sentence. So we use a comma to separate them. We went to the movies, one idea. We went out to lunch, the second idea. So in between, a conjunction has been used and to separate these two complete sentences, we use a comma. Let's move forward. Separating lists or elements within sentences. When we refer to two or three things, to separate them, we use commas. Susie wanted the black, green and blue dresses. So 3 dresses were required by Susie. So in order to separate them, we use commas. Next up, some rules about comma. The first rule: use a comma to separate two adjectives when you do not use and. Now please pay attention to this, that we can use a comma to separate two adjectives and this comma can replace and. Here's the example. She's a fit, healthy young woman. So here two adjectives are fit and healthy. And in the normal situation, the sentence should have been, she is a fit and healthy young woman. So we have removed and instead of and, we have used a comma here, right? Next up, use a comma around a person being directly identified. Again, we are referring to the same thing, direct address. So kindly pay attention to this. I'm talking to you and put out the trash. Now within the sentence, a person has been directly addressed. So we use a comma before the name and after the name. The reason remains the same, that we want to draw the attention of the person so that he or she does what we're asking him or her to do. So in this case, Anne is being asked to clear the trash, to put out the trash. So it's a direct address. Before the name and after the name, we use a comma. So it will be read out something like this: I'm talking to you, Anne, put out the trash. Hopefully, Anne will put out the trash. Next important thing, use a comma to separate the day of the month from the year and after the year. So to separate this, we use comma. Here's the example. It was May 5, and we put a comma after 5, 2001, comma, the fire broke out. So this is how a comma can be used. The important thing is that comma has to be used even after the year in a complete sentence. We have put a comma after 2001 also, so kindly remember this. Use a comma to separate the city from a state and after the state. So here's the example. The capital is Wellington, New Zealand, that you will find the Prime Minister. So it's clearly understood, so I move forward very quickly. Now, interesting situations because of misuse of a comma. Now, as I said earlier on, commas are normally misused. So some interesting things might come up because of the misuse of comma. So let's read it out. Perhaps more than any other punctuation mark, the omission or improper use of commas can have confusing, hilarious, or even life-threatening consequences for one's writing in English. Here's the example. Here the sentence is there without a comma. Let's eat Bob. Now compare this with the second one. Let's eat Bob. So the first one without the comma might actually scare Bob quite a lot, because it means that you are inviting others to eat Bob. But if you put this small comma at the right place, it becomes an invitation. So what you're actually saying is, let's eat Bob. You're inviting Bob to eat along with you. So I hope you'll not scare poor Bob quite a lot by misusing this comma, and you'll be using it at the proper place. We move forward. The next punctuation mark, it is semicolon. A semicolon is used to connect independent clauses. It shows a closer relationship between the clauses than a period will show. Now we can use semicolon to connect two independent clauses, but it shows a relationship between the two clauses. If we put a full stop or a period between the two clauses or sentences, it will denote, it will show that one thought unit is over. But when we want to show that both the units are linked or have some sort of relationship, we use a semicolon. So here's the example. John was hurt, semicolon. He knew she only said it to upset him, and a period. Now what do we want to show with this sentence? We've put, if you pay attention, semicolon after hurt. Now we want to show that these two parts have closer relationship. John was hurt, and then he knew she only said it to upset him. So both the parts are interlinked. John no doubt was hurt, but he knew that she said it intentionally to hurt him. So these two parts are linked, and with this semicolon we can show that the two parts, two independent clauses, they are linked to each other. They have some sort of relationship. Next up, colon. A colon has three main uses, friends. So let us start with the first one. The first is after a word introducing a quotation, an explanation, an example, or a series. This is the one with which majority of you must be familiar. So here's the example. He was planning to study 4 subjects, and we put a colon after it: politics, philosophy, sociology, and economics. Next up, the second usage of colon. The second is between independent clauses when the second explains the first, similar to a semicolon. Now the second usage of colon is pretty similar to the usage of semicolon when we want to show that two parts of a sentence are linked to each other, two independent clauses are linked to each other, but the second explains the first. So here's the example. I did not have time to get changed. We put a colon here. I was already late. So this means that the second independent clause explains the first one. Since the person was already late, he did not get the time to change. So two independent clauses, I repeat, they are interlinked. Why? Because the second explains the first. So we put a colon in between the two. The third use of colon now is for emphasis. So here's the example. There was one thing she loved more than any other. We put a colon here, her dog. So when we put a colon here, for emphasis, we take a longer pause, and when we take a longer pause, the attention is attracted towards the possible answer. And what is the possible answer? The possible answer in this case is that she loved her dog more than anything else. So we want to emphasize this fact, so we put a colon after other, or we can say we put the colon before the possible answer. Next up, dash. Now this will be interesting. Dash is used to separate words into statements. Now there are two types of dashes, en dash and em dash. I repeat, two types, en and em. I prefer to call them en and em and not n dash and m dash, quite simply because when I call them as en and em, it saves anyone from getting confused whether we have to use en in spellings or simply n. So let's discuss these. The first one is en dash. It is twice as long as a hyphen. Kindly don't confuse en dash with a hyphen. Why? Because it is twice as long as a hyphen, and it is used in writing or printing to indicate a range, connections or differentiations, such as we're showing a range 1880 to 1945. Kindly remember en dash twice as long as a hyphen, or Princeton, New York trains. So again, we are showing a range, a connection, so we use en dash here. Important thing, length twice as long as a hyphen. Next up, it is em dash. It is longer than en dash, and it can be used in place of a comma, parenthesis or colon to enhance readability or emphasize the conclusion of a sentence. So I repeat again that there are certain important things. It is longer than en dash, and we are talking about em dash, and it can be used in place of a comma, parenthesis or colon to enhance readability or to emphasize the conclusion of a sentence. So let's have an example. She gave him her answer. We put a longer em dash, no, mark of exclamation, and through this em dash we have emphasized the conclusion of a sentence. What is the conclusion? That she gave the answer as no. Now whether you put spaces around em dash or not is a style choice. At times people say that there should be a space. Some people at times do not give any space before and after this longer em dash. It is solely up to you, whatever you prefer when you write or type. The important thing is that you just have to be consistent. Now let us quickly move forward to the next thing, hyphen. A hyphen is used to join two or more words together into a compound term and is not separated by spaces. When we talked about em dash, it was our choice whether we wanted to give space or not. When we come to hyphen, we cannot give a space, and hyphen is used to join two or more words to form compound words. For instance, words like part-time, back-to-back, well-known, etc. So all these are compound words, and compound words have been made by using a hyphen. Had a hyphen not been there, this word would have been, this usage of the word would have been faulty. Part-time without a hyphen is not a compound word. Kindly remember it. So with hyphen we make compound words. We move forward. Brackets. Brackets are the squared off notations, also known as square brackets, used for technical explanations or to clarify meaning. Now kindly be clear about their usage. We use these square brackets for technical explanations or to clarify the meaning. If you remove the information in the brackets, the sentence will make sense still. This is the important thing. Since these square brackets are used to clarify meaning, if we remove the square brackets, the sentence will not be affected by it. So here's the example. He, Mr. Jones, was the last person seen at the house. So we are giving this additional information to clarify the meaning. What are we clarifying? We are clarifying who he is in this example, because we have used the pronoun he. If we just use the sentence, he was the last person seen at the house, we do not know who he is. So we give the information in square brackets because this information is being used or is being given to clarify meaning, so it is in square brackets. So we give the name Mr. Jones. Important thing, if we omit Mr. Jones here, the sentence will not be affected by it. Grammatically it will still have sense. Next up, braces after brackets. Braces are used to contain two or more lines of text or listed items to show that they are considered as a unit. They are not commonplace in most writings but can be seen. Where is the usage? If at all you have to write an essay, 99% chances are that you will not be using braces or curly brackets. But where exactly are these used? These are used in computer programming to show what should be contained within the same lines. They can also be used in mathematical expressions. So they are used quite a lot, in fact, in mathematical expressions. So here's an example, 2, and then we start a brace, 1 plus square bracket, 23 minus 3, we close the bracket, another brace is equal to x. I hope you can understand what it means. So let's move forward. Now comes parenthesis. Parentheses are curved notations used to contain further thoughts or qualifying remarks. These are the curved things, and what is their usage? Additional information is contained in these parentheses. However, parentheses can be replaced by a comma without changing the meaning in most cases. The important thing here, we give additional information in parentheses, and parentheses can be replaced by commas, and in majority of the cases the meaning will not be affected. So here's the example. John and Jane, who are actually half brother and sister, has been put in parentheses. Both have red hair. Now what do we want to show with this parenthesis here? We have given additional information in parentheses. So what is the additional information? Who are actually half brother and sister. So if we remove this additional information and if we put a comma here, sentence structure will not be affected and the sense will be clear. We move forward. Apostrophe. An apostrophe is used to indicate the omission of letter or letters from a word, the possessive case, or the plurals of lowercase letters. 3 usages are there. Number 1, to show or to indicate the omission of a letter, we use apostrophe. To show the possessive case, we use apostrophe, the most common usage, or to show plurals of lowercase letters. So let us start. The first case, omission of letters from a word. I've seen that movie several times. So if someone says this, clearly he's omitting certain letters of a word. So here, word should have been have. So apostrophe has been put and H and A have been left out. So it becomes I've seen instead of I have seen. Likewise, she wasn't the only one who knew the answer. So here, if I can point it out, apostrophe has been used. Why? Because instead of O, of not, we have used apostrophe, and apostrophe here has replaced O. We move forward. The next usage, the possessive case of apostrophe. Sarah's dog bit the neighbor. So this is the possessive case. So we use after the name, we use apostrophe S to show that it was the dog of this particular person named Sarah. Now the third usage, plural for lowercase letters. 6 people were told to mind their P's and Q's. So along with P's and Q's, we use apostrophe. So it's lowercase p and a lowercase q. What is the meaning of the line? The meaning of the line is that people were told, 6 people were told to behave properly. So let's move forward. Quotation mark. Quotation marks are a pair of punctuation marks used primarily to mark the beginning and end of a passage attributed to another and repeated word for word. So what is the important thing with quotation marks? We use quotation marks when we want to refer to something spoken or written by another person, and we are using those words as it is. It's verbatim reporting. So we use quotation marks. They are also used to indicate meanings and to indicate the unusual or dubious status of word. If at all there's something which is unusual, we use quotation marks, but that happens rarely. Basically, quotation marks are used to refer to the words spoken or written by another person. So here's the example. don't go outside. This is within quotation marks. She said. So this means that whosoever this she is, she gave the instruction to someone that he or she should not go out. So don't go outside is within quotation marks. The important thing here, if at all you're writing an article and you decide to quote someone, and this person whom you want to quote, he has made a grammatical mistake, a spelling mistake, or a mistake at the level of punctuation marks, what should you do? Should you correct the sentence and then use it? No, you should not correct the sentence. Why? Because when you put the matter within quotation marks, it's reporting as it is. So what do? You give the matter within quotation marks and then you put a symbol, maybe a star along with it, and at the bottom of the page you give the explanation that this was the grammatical mistake in the original sentence and the correct sentence should be this. We move forward. Now there's another usage of quotation marks. Kindly pay attention. Single quotation marks are used most frequently for quotes within quotes. So if you're quoting someone and within that quote the person has quoted someone else, you use single quotation mark to refer to this second quote. Here's the example. Mary told the teacher. What did she tell? I saw Mark at the playground and he said to me, within inverted commas, single inverted commas, Bill started the fight, single inverted commas closed, and I believed him. So this is a quotation within a quotation. Mary told the teacher. What did Mary tell the teacher? I saw Mark at the playground. Now this is exact reporting, and he said to me, Mark told Mary that Bill started the fight and I believed him. Second quotation is referred to Mark. So since it is a quotation within a quotation, we use single inverted commas in this section, right? And then to refer to what Mary said, we use double inverted commas. We move forward. Last punctuation mark, ellipses. Ellipses is most commonly represented by 3 periods. We put 3 dots, although it is occasionally demonstrated with 3 asterisks also, 3 kind of stars you can put there, known as asterisk. The ellipsis is used in writing or printing to indicate an omission, especially of letters or words. When we leave out certain words, we use ellipses. Ellipses are frequently used with quotations to jump from one phrase to another, omitting unnecessary words that do not interfere with the meaning. Now let us suppose I decide to quote someone in my article, and whatever I have to quote, that runs into 6 or 7 sentences, and out of those 7 sentences, 2 sentences are not that important. So I can write the initial 2 sentences and then put ellipses, which will mean I've omitted a section, and then shift on to the last two sentences. So this is acceptable. This shows that the unimportant part has been left out. So here are the examples. Students writing research papers and newspapers quoting parts of speeches will often employ ellipses, as I said earlier on, to avoid copying lengthy text. That is not needed, and here comes the example. If at all we decide to omit words, we can use ellipses. So the example is, she began to count. Now we are quoting someone, but we'll not quote the exact thing. We'll use ellipses here. She began to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then ellipses, inverted commas closed, until she got to 10, and then went to find him. They're playing the game of hide and seek, and one person starts counting till 1 to 10, and then after reaching 10, he or she tries to look for the other people who are playing the game. So it is being reported. She began to count, and till which number did she count? She started with 1 till 10, but we have not written 1, 2, 3 till 10. After 4, we've used ellipses, and then we've completed the sentence. Within a quotation, we can use ellipses. When Newton stated, an object at rest stayed at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion. We put 3 dots, that is ellipses. We close the quotation. He developed the law of motion. This is the section of the statement by Newton which the writer wanted to use. So he has just used that part and then used ellipses to denote that the remaining part has been left out. So these were the 14 punctuation marks. Now here is something which is very, very interesting. Punctuation marks, friends, are used in English for sure, but depending upon the kind of English that we are using, the nomenclature, the names, or how these punctuation marks are addressed, they might change a bit. So let's have a look. So punctuation mark is a full stop or a period. I've used both these words in this video. So when we talk about British English, it is a full stop. When it is American English, it is a period. Next up, exclamation mark. British English, it is exclamation mark. American English, it is exclamation point. Curved bracket, or simply put, bracket. British English, it will be bracket. American English, it will be parenthesis. In this video, I've used the word parenthesis. This is American English. British English, you can just call it brackets and it is acceptable. Next up, squared off notations. This is what it has been referred to in the video. British English, it is square bracket. American English, it is bracket. Now comes another interesting thing. What about abbreviations? This is the common confusion in students, that is it right to use a full stop or a period after the abbreviation? Because in some texts there is abbreviation, in others there is no abbreviation. In some texts there is a full stop after the abbreviation, in other texts there is no full stop after the abbreviation. So friends, if you are using British English, I repeat, if you are using British English, then there will not be a full stop after the abbreviation. But on the other hand, if you're using American English, then a period, full stop, will be there after the abbreviation. So British English, after doctor, no abbreviation. Mr., no abbreviation. I'm making a mistake. After doctor, no full stop. After Mr., no full stop. Mrs., MRS, no full stop. Likewise, RD, no full stop. When we use American English, so after the same doctor, we use a period or a full stop. After Mr., we again use a period or a full stop. After Mrs., we use again a period or a full stop. Likewise, after RD, retired, we use a period or a full stop. So these were some of the examples to clarify that in British English, we do not use a full stop after the abbreviation, but in American English, we do use it. So with this, we reach the end of this video. I hope the topic is clear and you'll be using punctuation marks properly, and you'll not run through the entire text if you use the punctuation marks at their proper places, and you will avoid having a monotone. On this note, I sign off. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.